Dear beloved Creator of all that is, we are grateful for this day, another coming together of hearts and minds in common goal to correct the wrongs done to us, your children. With our gratitude is humility in asking for your continued grace and protection from any harm caused by our actions. We intend our goodly, godly actions to assist in the address and release of unnecessary confinements, difficulties, and tribulations all of your children, young and old, have suffered for generations. We take up the armor of God, your grace, in our earnest efforts on behalf of humankind.
Amen. Thank you, Charlie. My name is Ron Vroman. I'm with the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, and we're here to talk about a little history of our organization. With me is William and our fugitive member, Richard. Introduce yourselves, please.
I'm William Appel. I'm on the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly here in the Portland, Oregon area.
Hi, I'm Richard. I'm emotionally exhausted tonight, so I'm not going to talk as much as I might otherwise.
Well, this is what happened. We were working on Scott's paper, I believe it was yesterday, and while he was doing his paperwork, Charlie and I were talking, and I was telling her a little bit about what we did before she came on board. And she said, "You need to record that or tell me so I can write it down because that's our history and we need to know it." So I said, "Okay, I'll get a hold of William and we'll record it." So basically, here's the deal. About 2014, the NLA was going pretty good here in Portland. A girl named Laura Weaver was running the show for Oregon. Richard was in the group. Ray Sinkle was in the group, and there was probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 of us, and kind of spread out across the different areas of interest, but all basically into the same thing of National Liberty Alliance and getting woke up and figuring out what's going on. One of the members was Kambiz Muradi, and I met him, and he said he was from Iran, and I thought, oh God, Cam, are you a Muslim? No, I'm a member of the People of the Flame, which is a very ancient religion from Iran, and I looked it up. And we became good friends, all of us. And we were doing good work, we thought. And the NLA at that time was going to set up a grand jury in every county in the all 3,000 counties in the United States. And I thought that was a superb idea. And so did everybody else. But then they changed that idea to they're going to teach people how to do grand juries and not do it, but just teach it. And I wasn't into teaching and learning. I was into doing. And so I got kicked out of the NLA 2 times, and Laura got me back 2 times. And the third time they kicked me out, I just stayed out. And I found a group called Private Attorney Generals Across America, and we went through that for a while. And Richard and Cam and Ray were still involved with the NLA, stopped. And so then I saw something that just really bothered me, and it was with the Beaverton School District. So Cam and I went down to the Beaverton School District to have a talk with them one evening, and they were not forthcoming. They were just not doing right. It was obvious what they were doing was wrong. And this was in 2014. So Cam and I finished doing that, and then I went down and visited the high school and got arrested and thrown in jail and tried, and all kinds of things happened to me, and all kinds of things happened to other people, and we were still trying to get ourselves sorted out and organized, and the private attorney generals are doing what they were doing, and Anna von Ritz was doing what she was doing, and all of this stuff was in a giant maze, a haze. It was not clear. Nothing was going right. And this was during Obama's time. And then we got into some more trouble. And I went to jail and got out of jail. Richard went to jail several times and got out of jail. And we were having a difficult time getting along with the de facto. So Cam Bees got up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the day they released me and came and got me. And it was right after Trump took office. And I asked him how Trump was doing because I had voted for him, but I didn't trust him. But he hadn't shown evil, so I went with it. And he said he's doing a good job. He's trying really hard. He's trying to close the border down to these Muslim countries, and he's cleaning the swamp. So Ray, Cam, and I and Richard decided to go downtown to the federal building, the Marco Hatfield building, and talk to a deputy U.S. Attorney, Seth Urim. And we did. Richard didn't go in because he couldn't get past the screening. Ray and I and Cam went in. We were met by two marshals, a guy named Carl Knob and another one named Mark. Last name won't come right now. But we had a good conversation of trying to come to some kind of terms with the corporate DOJ in downtown Portland, and it didn't work out well. And we went back and we went back again. And after each meeting, I'd write an after action report and send it out to the few people that we emailed. And about that time, Cam and I decided we had to do something. Didn't really know what, but we had to do something. And NLA was pushing safety committees at that time. So we thought about doing a safety committee. And there's a guy that's named, Joaquin Dila something or other, that sets up grand juries that don't function and safety committees that don't do the job. But he puts on a nice show and he builds a good looking website, but nothing happens. So we decided we were going to do a better job. Along about, let's see, Henry Mayhew and I were partners in a couple of cases into the federal district court during the Bundy dust up, Bundy et al., and that whole thing in Portland. And he put me in touch with a lady named Jules Embry. Smart lady, knows a lot, did a lot of good work. And she said, Ron, help me put together a Jural assembly on Oregon. And I said, sure. And so I got a hold of Cam and we started talking around how do you do this and different people. We talked with Arnie Rosner, and Arnie put me in touch with Gypsy Me in Hawaii. She had just come back from a convention of sorts that the Republic with the CK had. Jim Wright had put it on someplace, and she had gone to it. And so Arnie put me in touch with Gypsy. Gypsy told me about Maryland. Maryland sent the documents, and we got 6 together. It only takes 5, but we got 6 together. It was Ray, Ross, Roger, Belinda, Cam Bees, and myself. And we went over to the bank. We were using a bank at that time, and we were using notaries at that time. That was as far as we'd gotten then. So we went over and got the notary, and she notarized all our papers, and we signed and read and thumbprinted and read and set up the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. And I think that was in June of 17 or 18. I think, I don't know. I'd have to look at the paperwork. And we started from there. And we contacted all 36 sheriffs. We went to visit Pat Garrett, and he wouldn't see us. Oh, but before that, Ray, Cam, and I had a personal with Pat Garrett and a long talk with him. We had coffee. And we tried to get him to uphold his oath, and he refuses. There's 2 classes of people on the land. There's U.S. citizens and there's Americans, Oregonians, state nationals, but non-U.S. citizens. There's a lot of categories of us, but we're non-U.S. citizens. And he refused to accept that there was 2 categories, but the Supreme Court accepts it. But it didn't work out, and he wouldn't see us again. So 4 of us in the action committee, it was Roger, Ray, myself, and a guy named Al Brown, uh, uh, Indian from India. And he was with us for a while. Smart guy, worked hard, but he was also agent provocateur for Anna von Ritz's group. And we finally found that out, and he made himself known, and he left us and went over to her group. I saw him recently in Salem. But in any case, we formed our Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. We notified all 36 sheriffs and the DOJ and the FBI and the marshals that we were forming a grand jury, and we were going to do all that we could to correct this situation. And we still had a meeting or 2 with Seth and the U.S. Marshals, but that didn't go well. We went to Hillsboro and read a declaration in the rotunda of the sheriff's house, and nobody would come and see us. I sat on a chair in the middle of it and read the whole thing. It was a page and a half. And then we left. They were notified. We did the same thing with the sheriff of Multnomah County. Didn't do any good. Long about that time, we finally got an appointment after trying for 3 years to see Oregon statehood documents. And they had a new curator of the archives, the Oregon archives. I don't recall her name right now. But they had a new one, and she agreed. So we wrote a paper just in case, because we don't trust them. And we had an agreement to see the Oregon statehood documents, which include Oregon's accepted Constitution of 1859 and the United States Constitution circa 1859, because that's the first and second law of the land, and you have to have the original documents to have a contract. So we know they exist, we just can't find them and they won't show them. But they agreed. So 4 of us went down there, the action committee, Roger, Ray, myself, and Al Brown. And we got there and they were showing us junk. They showed us the 1857 copy of Oregon's Constitution that allegedly was sent to DC with our request to change from territory to a state, but there's no proof of service. It's just a document that had never gone anywhere or done anything. And they said that was what they had for statehood documents, and that was a lie. The guy that was representing Oregon was the deputy secretary of state, a bar attorney named Richard Vile. And he was the most two-faced standard attorney. He looked me right in the eye and said, I don't know where the documents are that you want, so I can't help you. Well, that's not the point. The point is, you're the archives, you're the Secretary of State's deputy. Show your documents that you promised to show, and then show the proof you have that Article 7 amended, the judiciary portion of Oregon's Constitution, was actually lawfully placed into the Oregon Constitution, because a guy named Milt Mitchek, he was with us for a while, withdrew. He's out in Eastern Oregon. He has a set of the Oregon statehood documents, he says. We haven't seen them yet. And he says he has statements from all of the election clerks from all of the Oregon counties that Article 7 amended was placed into the Oregon Constitution without one vote being counted November 8th, 1910, by Frank Benson, who was Secretary of State and governor at the same time and a bar attorney. And they couldn't prove it, and they promised to do it. And we thought that that's what they would do. So we had already prepared a document for all of the 30 senators telling them exactly what happened. Oregon cannot prove their statehood because they don't have the documents to show Oregonians from the Action Committee of the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly as promised. And Article 7 amended was placed in the Constitution without one vote being counted, and now you know about it. And if you let this ride for 21 days, then you will acquiesce and you will default to misprision of felony. So we went over to the state house, and the four of us served every senator but one. She had died, so there was nobody to serve there. And we have proof of service from each one of the senators that they got their document. We even got thrown out of a senator's office. I forget which one now. But we went in to talk to him. We went into a public office of an elected senator, and they said, "Get out." What do you mean, get out? You know, this is our building. If you don't get out, we're going to call the cops. Okay, so we walked out. By the time we walked out of the office, there was already 3 state police in uniform there and 2 in plain clothes. And we were in the lobby in front of the elevators, and there was 2 of us, Al and I. And Ray came up and saw what was happening, sat down in the chair and started laughing at the show. Roger showed up later. And, but anyhow.
No, I don't hear it.
Okay.
Can you tell people what misprision of felony is?
When you know something is wrong and somebody broke the law, committed a crime, and you do nothing about it, you become an accessory or equally guilty, and that's misprision of felony. Is that close enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, all those folks were served, all 29 of them. Then we went down to the Secretary of State's office. Yeah, it's your phone, Richard. I'm getting feedback. We went down to the Secretary of State's office and served the Secretary of State 1 copy, and we have proof of that service. Then we got into a car and drove over to the Justice Building, where Ellen keeps her office, the Attorney General, and we served the Attorney General a copy, and they stamped it, and we have proof of Richard. So we on the
doesn't want it.
Okay, on the 31st of May, 2019, we served all 30 of the. It's fixed. And so then after all 30 senators were served, we went back to Portland and Beaverton and went about our business. And on the 21st of June, they acquiesced. And that was the same day that the truckers and the farmers decided to descend upon Salem over the carbon tax bill. So we took our document down to the Beaverton public recorder and had it recorded into the public record that all 30 senators had defaulted to misprision of felony. And that was the start of where we were going. From that point on, we were doing our best to gather members to us, and we would gather up people and they would leave and they would come and they would go. And then we lost Belinda. She had gone downtown with us to serve papers a couple of times into the federal building, and to just make our presence known there. And it scared her, made her afraid. And pretty soon she couldn't handle being afraid anymore, so she left. And Ross had some family issues, and he's got kids at home, and he shouldn't probably be in this anyhow, so he left. He comes back occasionally. Cam moved to California, and then recently Roger died. So out of the original founders, there's two left. But we've added really good people. Richard, William, Tanya, Charlie, Ann, Brandon. I'll miss people and then I'll feel bad that I missed them, but we have a really solid core of action committee members. So then we started doing our work. And in doing our studies, we found that we should provide Kate Brown with a petition for redress of grievance for the things that she had done. And so that was about a year ago, I guess. We served her with a document. And when I called up the Attorney General's office, they laughed at me. You don't have a docket number, so you have no standing with your petition for redress of grievance against Kate Brown. Well, by that time, we had already formed our own court. We looked up what is necessary to form a court. We did everything that was necessary to form a court, got a seal, got the members, did the work, and we had a court. So when they told us that we needed a docket number, we met our court in the park by Roger's house. And we all signed the paper and we gave it a docket number of 0407-1776. And we filed that with them. And we gave them another 30 days, which gave Kate 7 days, 14 days, and 21 days, and she defaulted on all three. Then it gave her, Suzanne Bonamici, Ron Wyden, and Jeff Merkley 30 days, and they all acquiesced to the 30 days, and they acquiesced to our court. They acquiesced to our court enabling ex parte Milligan, which is the method by which you remove martial law. We had found that the United States was under some form of martial law from 1861 to now. And we called the Army to check it out, the Army Heritage Society, and we asked them about the Lieber Code. They said the Lieber Code is still in effect in the Army's paperwork as of 2015, when the Army put together their most recent plan for martial law. So from 1863, when Colonel Lieber wrote the code, until 2015, it's still in effect. So we notified them that our civilian court had nullified martial law, and not one of them rebutted it. We notified the DOJ, the U.S. Marshal Services, the FBI, the United States Marine Corps. I think that's it on the federal side. Then we notified the Provost Marshal of the Oregon National Guard, the JAG from the Oregon National Guard, Ellen, the Superintendent of the Oregon State Police, sheriffs, district attorneys, chief of police, and city attorneys. I think we caught them all. And they all acquiesced. So during this time, Ray, Roger, and I, in January of 2019, I filed the first paper with the DOJ saying that this was my living testimony in the form of an affidavit of truth, and that I was an Oregonian and not a U.S. citizen, and I was a member of the Oregon grand jury. So they knew that I was the first one to do it, and I turned it in, got it stamped. Ray and Roger did it right after me, and we all witnessed for each other. So then we have all of these things happening to us, and by way of what we're doing, we're generating a lot of flack. We're contacting Anna von Ritz, and she's contacting us and arguing with us that we can't do this or we can't do that. And we're members of the USA Republic, and they had 42 states when we joined them. And I think it went up to 46 states. And then they had strife within, and it fell apart. And we've had that too, strife from within. Two of our founders left because they couldn't handle it. And we had the agent provocateur, Al Brown. He went back to Anna's group. So we've had our share of ups and downs also. But right now, today, we've brought this through to learning how to file under the Universal Postal Union's treaty, to file documents. Thank you, Roger. You take your document that you're going to file with whoever you're going to file it with, and we usually file it with the same people all the time, the feds, the state, the county, and the cities, so they all know what we're doing. And of course, the people that are being charges leveled at, such as the VA and the post office. We went into the post office and wouldn't wear a mask because wearing a mask is against their unalienable rights, and we won't bow down to that. And Charlie and I went in there to file papers with the Universal Postal Union. Not all postal clerks know how to do it, but there's one that knows how to do it in every post office. So we went in to do that, wouldn't wear a mask. They hollered at us and told us, and we ignored them. And pretty soon the cops came and threw us out. I went home, and Charlie went home, and I started phone calling. And somehow I loved the internet. Somehow I wound up at an office of the post office in Utah that handles all tort claims against the post office. And I told her what happened and that we were going to file charges against them for that. And they had no business doing that. She agreed. We hung up on the phone call, and the postmaster from Beaverton called me up, apologized, said, "Come back tomorrow. We'll have somebody there to handle you. You don't have to wear a mask, and we'll take care of your filing papers through the Universal Postal Union. You don't have to wait in line. Come to this window, stand there, and we'll find somebody to deal with you immediately." And that has worked for months until just recently the Beaverton Post Office replaced that postmaster with the new postmaster, and we went down, Tanya Ray and I, to file papers, and they started in with the mask thing again. Well, I've got in my wallet a email from the postmaster saying that's not true. So they called the cops on us again. The cops came. I showed them the letter. And Ray, bless his heart, rather than to argue more, he put a mask over his chin, and they accepted our paperwork, and we filed it into their Universal Postal Union. Uh-oh, dog's barking. So, you have any questions on our history? That I've left out a bunch, but I don't know what to bring in. Everything that we've done, we filed. We have documents stamped by them in person, like the DOJ, or by the courts, or barking dog. So if we don't do it that way, and serendipity, I love serendipity, we started using the Universal Postal Union. At the same time, they wouldn't let us serve papers in person anymore because they lock up the offices and lock up the buildings, and you work from home and can't assemble, and social distancing. Oh, there's one. To serve the paper on Cape Brown originally, Charlie Ray and I drove to Salem, and the state building was closed. So we beat on the door, and I mean beat on the door. And pretty soon, from around the side of the building comes a state police sergeant, almost had his name, Dutchman, big guy, friendly, nice, polite, well educated, knew his job. I said, "Are you an agent for the governor?" And he said, "I am." And I said, "You're served." And he took the paper and put it in his pocket. And then we tried the office of the attorney general, and it was closed and locked, and they wouldn't open the door and wouldn't accept service. And we tried the State Department, and they were the same. So we drove over to the police station, the headquarters of the Oregon State Police, and knocked on the door, and their receptionist came to the door, took our document, stamped a copy, and gave our stamped copy back. So now we had a certified stamp proof of service on that document. I followed up on that, and they actually did serve it to Kate Brown, and the sergeant that we gave it to, he actually turned it in to the proper people, and that lieutenant held the document for 3 days, because when I called up to find out what was going on, he said, "I have it here in my hand." And I asked him, "What the hell are you doing with a document that doesn't belong to you? You're an agent for." And I was unkind to him for his inability to do his job, and I told him so. But they immediately served that one over to Kate Brown also. So everything that we've done all along the line, most recently, in fact, when was it? The 29th of January, our most recent document cured, and the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly, which is also the Civilian Court of Record, which is also the grand jury, became Oregon's Second Amendment well-regulated militia by acquiescence again to all of those same people. They all listen to what we have to say and have nothing to rebut it with, and they accept it. All power is inherent in the people. And that's who it is, and that's what we're doing. We turned in one, the last one, last week. I think it was last week. I don't know the date for sure, but it was 4 counts against all 30 senators and all 60 House of Representatives for their inability to maintain their oath, and they broke their oath, and they have no honor, and they cannot hold. Excuse me, talking too much and not enough deep breathing. They cannot hold a position of honor. So that'll be cured in a few days. We're about that far from having enough people out of the jury pool selected to be on the grand jury. And as soon as that happens, the grand jury will meet and we will find a presentment. And the presentment will go to the de facto. And everyone in the de facto in positions of authority in the law enforcement section for city, county, state, feds, and the highest attorney for all of those, district attorney, city attorney, attorney general, and Department of Justice, Oregon attorney for the United States. They'll all be served, and they all have been served multiple times, and they've all acquiesced that the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly is the people on Oregon. As we're a republic, we don't have to have a majority like you do in a democracy. So the first one will be against Kate Brown, Suzanne Bonamici, Jeff Merkley, and Ron Wyden. And we'll get a presentment and take it to all those de facto attorneys and cops. And then we'll take a true bill from the same grand jury and we'll go over to Article 3, Amendment 7, jury of peers whose verdict cannot be appealed, and we'll give the true bill to them and ask for a finding on whether or not those 4 individuals have broken their oath, which they have multiple times, and they already acquiesced to it in writing. And that means they can't hold a position of trust and they have to step down from their jobs. So then we'll get that document from the Amendment 7 jury, and we'll take that to the Department of Treasury for Oregon and tell them to stop paying these 4 people because here's a court's order. And this court's order cannot be appealed. And interestingly enough, they have a common law court in Texas. I was talking to Bonnie about it. And they somehow got a determination. It could have been by acquiescence from the Texas Supreme Court that the Texas Supreme Court agrees that they cannot listen to an appeal from a common law jury. So that substantiates Amendment 7. And with full faith and credit, what is done by the Supreme Court of Texas is honored by the Supreme Court of Oregon. That's part of their rules. We'll have a judgment of that on Oregon too. So then we'll see whether or not the legal, not lawful, but the legal arm of the state of Oregon Incorporated, a subdivision of the United States Inc., will actually abide by governing law and fire these 4 individuals. And then will they abide by governing law and stop payment to the 90 legislators? And when we get that done, then we'll see where else we can go. But if that doesn't work, we have the Second Amendment well-regulated militia as acquiesced to and part of the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. So that's pretty much our history from the start with Cam and I and Ray and Roger and all the way till now. And we have all those documents. We'll share all those documents with anybody that wants them from any other state. And what it took us 2.5 years to get done and to get to this place, any other state can write the documents that we wrote and serve them as we serve them. And in 21 days, they can be in the exact same lawful place that we are.